Here's what we're going to do. In the morning, we're going to focus on laying the foundation. We're going to talk about the idea of dual transformation, the cornerstone idea in my latest book, to get us in a mindset for what the world is like today. I'll then describe the basic points of the new rules of strategy and start talking about how we can use this to make sense of what's going on in the world today. By the time we get to lunch, we will have good understanding of the dynamics of change in today's world, what that means from a broad strategic direction for our organizations, and how we can begin to take what we call a future-back mindset to make sense of all the change that's taking place today. In the afternoon, we're going to write the story of the future. We're going to describe how to go from a view of what might happen to what we want to happen for our organizations and indeed for ourselves. And then I'll end by going from rules to tools to talk about the tools that strategists need to take today's ambiguity and turn it into opportunity. Let me start by laying the foundation by talking about this concept of dual transformation. I mentioned my daughter, Holly. I mentioned how she turned 10 years old last year. She was born in 2007. 2007 ended up being a transformational year in the mobile phone industry. You'll remember in January of that year, Steve Jobs announced. In June of that year, Steve Jobs launched the iPhone. How many of you today are using an iOS-based device? How many of you have an Apple iPhone? So that looks like about 60% of the room. Equally, perhaps even more importantly, in November of that year, Google got together with a bunch of handset manufacturers to form what became called the Open Handset Alliance, powered, of course, by the Android operating system. How many of you are on Android devices today? So that looks like the remainder of the room. I see some of you are dual operating system people. You can't decide. You've got both hands going up here. This, of course, is the way the world works. Globally, about 85% market share is actually held by Android, 15% by Apple. Apple makes most of the money given the way it operates. But this is the mobile phone industry that we know today. These are not the market leaders in 2007. These are market entrants. Who is the market leader in 2007? Nokia. How did the world look through Nokia's eyes in 2007? It looked pretty good, actually. November of 2007, while all this was going on, Forbes ran this cover story: 1 billion customers, can anyone catch the cell phone king? Of course, we know the answer to that question, decidedly yes.